Security tear. Same door. Walk him out. Walk him out.
They slapped him across the face in front of the entire office. Then they threw him out like trash. 10 years later, he walked back in and bought the whole place. Nobody in that conference room saw it coming. Not the boss, not the boss's son, not the security guard who escorted a young man named Marcus out of the building on what he thought was the worst day of his life. But Marcus, he saw it coming the whole time. He just made sure no one else did. This is his story. Marcus grew up with almost nothing. His father passed away when Marcus was still a little kid, leaving his mother, Emily, to figure it out on her own. They lived in a small house in a working-class part of town, the kind of neighborhood where people know each other by name because nobody's moving anywhere fast. Emily was a smart woman, educated, proud. She refused to let their situation break her, so she turned their living room into a tutoring space and taught kids from the neighborhood just to keep the lights on. Marcus watched all of this, every single day. While his classmates in middle school were hanging out after the bell, Marcus was home helping with the dishes, the laundry, whatever needed doing. He was 12 years old the first time he noticed his mother crying alone in the corner of the room. She didn't know he was there. She thought she was hidden. He walked over and asked quietly, "Mom, what's wrong?" "Nothing, baby. I'm okay. I'm just happy. God gave me a good son." He was old enough to know that wasn't the full truth, but he was also old enough to understand that some pain you don't put on other people. You carry it. You convert it. You use it. So that's what Marcus did. He studied hard. He stayed focused. He graduated college and walked into his first real job at a mid-sized software company in Atlanta, a firm with a decent reputation and even bigger internal politics. The first paycheck hit different. Marcus didn't spend it on himself. He showed up at Emily's door with groceries, a little cash, and a smile that took up his whole face. "Why are you crying now, Mom?" "Because I'm proud of you. These are happy tears, son." At work, Marcus was exactly what you'd expect from someone who spent his whole life watching his mother sacrifice. He was the first one in, the last one out. He didn't clock watch. He didn't cut corners. Within 18 months, his boss promoted him, twice. That's when the problem started. The boss had a son, Derek, also an engineer at the same company, also not nearly as talented as he believed himself to be. Watching Marcus get promoted while he stayed in place was like a slow-burning humiliation for Derek, and he decided Marcus was going to pay for it. He undermined Marcus's projects, left him off emails, made snide remarks about his work in team meetings, called him out in front of colleagues in ways that were just professional enough to be deniable. Marcus said nothing, not because he was weak, but because he had a mother at home, bills to pay, and a clear understanding that reacting emotionally to someone like Derek would only cost him more than it would cost Derek. Then came the Henderson project, a major client rollout. High stakes, tight deadline, and Marcus was lead engineer. Derek made a critical error during final testing, a bad one, the kind that could have cost the company the account. And instead of owning it, Derek blamed Marcus. The boss called a full staff meeting the next morning. No heads up, no private conversation first. Just the whole office, standing around, watching. He tore into Marcus in front of everyone. Didn't ask for his side of the story, didn't want one. And then, and this is the part people barely believe when they hear it, he slapped him. Open hand, right across the face, in front of 30-some coworkers. Then he had security walk Marcus out of the building. No severance, no reference, just the sidewalk. Marcus stood outside in the afternoon sun for a long moment. Then he straightened his jacket, and he walked away. He got hired at another company within 6 weeks, saved everything he could, moved into a smaller apartment to cut costs, lived cheap on purpose, ate simple, worked constantly. 2 years in, he launched his own firm, a boutique software company, out of a one-bedroom office in Charlotte, North Carolina. He called in favors from old college classmates, worked every contract he could find, and built slowly, deliberately, without noise.
He didn't post about it on LinkedIn. He didn't talk about it at parties. He just built. 5 years later, his company had 40 employees and clients across 8 states. 7 years in, they landed a government infrastructure contract that put them on the map nationally. By year 10, Marcus's firm was one of the most quietly successful mid-sized tech companies in the Southeast. He had not forgotten a single second of that afternoon on the sidewalk. One Tuesday morning, Marcus was scrolling through industry news over coffee when he saw it. His former employer had gone bankrupt. Mismanagement, rapid client loss. Derek had apparently been running key operations into the ground for years. The company was being liquidated, sold to whoever would take it.
Marcus set down his mug. He called his attorney by 9. By the end of the week, the deal was done. The acquisition was quiet, clean, and total. Every asset, every contract, every desk in that building, including the one that used to belong to the man who slapped him. Word spread fast, the way it does in small industries. The staff, most of them people who'd been there for years, people who watched what happened to Marcus a decade ago, gathered in the main conference room. No one had been told who the new owner was, just that they'd be meeting him that morning. The boss sat near the front. Derek was beside him, arms crossed, already performing confidence he didn't have.
The door opened. A man in a well-cut charcoal suit walked in. Calm. No rush. 2 people with him. Quiet and close. He didn't greet the room at first. He just stood there and let the recognition happen on its own. It took about 10 seconds. Then Marcus looked directly at the 2 men who had once humiliated him in this same room, in front of these same people, and said, very quietly, "Do you recognize me?" The room went still. The boss's face went gray. Derek's jaw tightened. Neither of them spoke. Marcus turned to the 2 people who'd walked in with him. "Please escort these 2 out of the building." The boss started talking first. Apologies, excuses, 10 years of context compressed into 30 panicked seconds. Derek followed. Both of them reduced to exactly what Marcus had been on that sidewalk. Men without leverage, asking for something from someone who didn't owe them anything.
Marcus didn't raise his voice, didn't look away, didn't say another word. He just waited until they were gone. Marcus never said it was about revenge. He never framed it that way, not even to the people close to him. He called it a business decision, and technically it was. But if you'd been there that morning, standing in that conference room, watching a man who'd been thrown out into the street walk back in as the owner, you wouldn't have called it a business decision either. You would have called it what it was. Some people fold under humiliation. Some people file it away like a document, saved, dated, never deleted, and get back to work. Marcus was always the second kind. The people who humiliated him just didn't know it yet, and now they do.